Hi there everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to try something pretty different from what I normally do. So apart from One Piece, my basically second favorite hobby is D&D. And so I'm in a few campaigns right now. I also do some DMing stuff on the side. However, one thing that I personally like to do is I like to watch monsters fight each other. And I know they're not meant to fight each other. That's not the way they're created, but I just really like seeing how some monsters, especially of the same CR, go against each other, how their different mechanics kind of work, and just feeling the power fantasy of two giant monsters basically just boxing against each other. And so today I wanted to record something that I do a lot offline and, trying to just put it out there and see if other people might want to see more of this. And I know this channel will mainly stay One Piece, pretty much 90% One Piece, but I did just want to put this out to show just some other stuff that I do kind of like. And so, on the left side of the ring, we have the Sphinx of Wonder for the CR17 fight. Sphinx of Wonder, AC 17, HP 199. His main thing is the 60-foot of fly speed that he will use. He is a beast. He can move around almost this entire arena. He should be able to reach the Death Knight always. He does have multi-attacks as well. He can multi-attack using 2 claws and a roar. The Sphinx of Wonder is a really interesting creature with its roar mechanic. Basically, he gets to roar 3 times in a day, and each time he uses a roar, he gets to go down, basically, to them from the first, second, and third, and each one has a really good ability. The first roar can make a target frightened. The second one can paralyze them, and then the third roar deals a lot of damage, and can also make them prone. The Sphinx of Wonder can also cast many spells, good thing being Great Restoration, Hero's Feast, Zone of Truth. And then he also has legendary actions. The Arcane Prowl, which is basically a teleport and lets him use a claw. And then the Weight of Years, which shouldn't really matter against a Death Knight who is basically immortal. But this is very funny, as a legendary action, Sphinx of Wonder can age someone by 30 years. Going over his stats. He has a 22 in strength, a 10 in dexterity, a 20 in constitution, a 16 in intelligence, a 23 in wisdom, and an 18 in charisma. Pretty well-rounded stats. I feel like this Sphinx of Wonder is not going to miss any saving throws that he may worry about. He also has resistances to necrotic damage. This will probably be very important against the Death Knight. He is immune to Psychic, Charmed, and the Frightened condition, and he has True Sight, which means no one is dead anyway from this Sphinx. However, on the right side of the fight, we have the Death Knight, coming in at a strong AC 20, an HP of 199. He has a strength stat of 20, a dexterity of 11, constitution of 20, intelligence of 12, wisdom of 16, charisma of 18. Extremely strong stats here. He may have some troubles against the Sphinx of Wonders if he casts some certain spells, but the Death Knight should have this one all well-rounded. The Death Knight is immune to poison and necrotic damage, along with exhaustion, frightened, and poisoned. However, he has no resistances, so the Sphinx of Valor's strikes and claws will deal full damage against this Death Knight. However, the Death Knight's traits, he has natural resistance, having no advantage on saving throws. He has the Martial Undead, which will not be useful in this fight unless somehow he gets another undead on his side. And then he has Undead Restoration. Basically, when he dies, he doesn't actually die. He regains his body in 1d 10 days, reviving with everything. However, that will not matter for this fight tonight, as we are just seeing these two CR17 monsters box each other up. Going over the Death Knight's actions, he has a multi-attack of 3 blade attacks. With a plus 11 to hit, we might be seeing a lot of damage here. Because of the Sphinx of Valor's lower AC, the Death Knight just needs to roll a 6 on the dice, and then he is hitting with all of these slashes. We do see, though, that the second part of his swing does deal necrotic damage, which we know is resistant by the Sphinx of Valor, so we are going to be seeing some stuff happen there. Then we get to the Death Knight's recharge ability, the Hellfire Orb. It's a recharge on a 5 or 6 at the start of his turn. The creature needs to make a dexterity saving throw of a DC 18. Then each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point the Death Knight can see within 120 feet. They take 10d6 fire damage plus 10d6 necrotic damage. This is a haymaker of damage right here. And if we can consistently recharge this turn after turn, the Death Knight will surely get this in a bad. The Death Knight also has some spell casting of his own. Very importantly, he has more damage spells versus the Sphinx of Valor. He has Destructive Wave and also Dispel Magic. He also has the Command spell at will. This will matter a lot because as one of his legendary actions, the Dread Authority, he can cast Command. He can only use that once every other turn, however, so we will not see Command as often as some may like to. However, it's no problem, as his second legendary action, the Fell Word. It is a Constitution saving throw of a DC 18. Basically, the Sphinx of Valor needs to pass that, or else he is taking 5d6 necrotic damage, and his hit point maximum decreases. And again, Death Knight cannot use this until every other turn. But we don't have to worry about that. If we don't feel like the Death Knight needs to use any of those two very strong abilities, he can always use his lunge, moving up to half of his speed, and using a singular Dread Blade attack. And so, let's get ready to see how this fight goes. Let's get their initiative in. We'll add the encounter to the Sphinx of Valor. A 22 in initiative. Very strong there. What about the Death Knight? Also a 22. Very funny. Let's see that re-roll to see who goes first. 27 on the Death Knight. 21 on the Sphinx of Wonder. Sad one from a tie to a lose. The Death Knight is going first. They are starting a strong 80 feet away from each other. Now as we hover over the Death Knight's stat block to see what he has, he only has a 30 feet movement, and his range is only 5 feet for his Dread Blade. He's not getting much here, folks. So here, he will move up to his 30 feet, which will be right almost halfway. And then for his action, he's going to use his Hellfire Orb. Because he can see the Sphinx of Valor in 120 feet of himself, the Sphinx of Valor now needs to make a DC 18 dexterity saving throw, or else they are taking a whole lot of damage. Now let's remember that the Death Knights, this second damage right here, the necrotic damage, will be halved no matter what. So let's see, it's a DC 18 dexterity saving throw. And he fails. So the Sphinx of Valor already taking 42 fire damage, or not fire, but just normal damage, and then 30 halves, so he's taking 15 necrotic damage, already losing a big chunk of health on that first turn. The Death Knight, let's go back over to his stat block, he has no bonus action, so he will be ending his turn here. Because there's now the end of the turn, the Sphinx of Wonder is allowed a legendary action. He will take one of those legendary actions using the Arcane Prowl. He will teleport 30 feet. Ooh, sadly, he will not be able to make that claw attack, but he will be able to move up closer. And now it is the Sphinx of Valor's turn. Sphinx of Valor has a fly speed of 60 feet. He can get to this Death Knight and back if he wants to. And guess what? We are going to use our multi-attack, making 2 claw attacks and a roar. First, however, we are having to move forward. Death Knight is 25 feet in front of us. We will use 25 of our 60 fly speed and move in right in front of that Death Knight. We will go for those 2 claw attacks, a plus 12. We should be able to hit both of these here if we're lucky enough. An 18 and an 18. Sadly, those both miss the Death Knight's amazing AC stat. However, we get our first roar. It is a wisdom save of a DC 20 to be frightened. However, as we saw earlier, the Death Knight does have immunity to the frightened condition. So this first roar is not doing anything. However, we are moving 1 roar closer to the giant third roar's damage of 18, 10, and prone. So, Sphinx of Wonder now ending its turn here, sadly missing both of its attacks, is leaving himself open for the Death Knight to use one of his legendary actions. As we see, they are now face to face. The Death Knight can start swinging if he'd like to. What would be best here? Would they want to command? I feel like we do not want to fell word, as we know the Sphinx of Valor is now resistant. So the Death Knight, seeing this giant Sphinx in front of him, is going to grab his blade and swing it down on the giant winged beast with the lunge. He will not need to move up to half his speed. It is okay, but we will make that Dread Blade attack with a plus 11 to hit. An 18 does hit the Sphinx of Valor. That will deal the full 2d6 plus 5. Ooh, that's not good. Rolled 2 ones. That'll deal a full 7 damage. And it'll deal 8 damage from the resistance to the necrotic. We'll put that in there. 7 and then 8. Not a whole lot of damage, but that on just the end of the Sphinx's turn is very good. Now back to the Death Knight. After he just swung at this winged Sphinx in front of him, carving out a little bit of the hair, not doing much damage, but still, this Death Knight, it has not been hit once yet, and the Death Knight is feeling good about it. At the start of his turn, let's roll to see if we get our Hellfire Orb back, and it sits. Yes, we do. Now, here is the point where we can choose. We are now face to face with the Sphinx of Valor. We can either make 3 Dread Blades, or we can go for a giant Hellfire Orb. I say we Hellfire Orb. And let's get a visual representation of that in here, shall we? It is a circle. Hellfire, I view as green. See, it is a 20-foot radius sphere. 20? Oh yeah, we are going to cast it right here. That way it does not hit the Death Knight, but it will hit that Sphinx of Valor. He now has to make the DC 18 Dexterity saving throw, or else he is taking 41 fire damage and 49 half necrotic damage. Let's see if he can make this DC 18 Dex save. That save, we do have a +6. Oh, and this Sphinx of Valor barely misses out just by 1 point on that. So he will take that full 41 damage. Oh, almost did 42. That 1 point might matter. And then he'll take that 49 halved. It'll be 24 and a half. However, we are rounding down for all these halves that we'll see today. So that's going to be 24 damage to the Sphinx of Valor. Sphinx of Valor is not looking good. The Death Knight is doing way stronger than I thought. The Sphinx of Valor missing both of his claw attacks on that turn and failing 2 death saves in a row is really hurting him here. However, that is the end of the Death Knight's turn, which leaves the Sphinx of Valor open for a legendary action. Let's see what he wants to. He can Weight of Years, giving this Death Knight a possible level of exhaustion, though I think we are at the point where that does not matter. The Death Knight is so strong as it is. We just need to Arcane Prowl and hope we can get that damage in. So we don't need to teleport anywhere, but we'll teleport behind him, get some movement in, and we will use that claw attack with the +12 to hit. And 18 sadly misses. Multiple 18s in a row. This is not what we want to see on the Sphinx of Valor's turn. However, as it now enters the Sphinx of Valor's turn, he will use his multi-attack, making 2 claws and a roar. Alright, we'll see that first claw. Misses. And that second claw barely misses, just by 1 point misses the Death Knight. This Sphinx Valor is very unlucky today. However, we do get the ability of the second roar. It's a wisdom save of a DC 20. And if this Death Knight fails, the Death Knight will become paralyzed. So let's see how he does. See, DC 20 wisdom save. We do have a +9 to that. So we could get lucky here. And a 23, we are fine. Alright, that will be the end of the Sphinx of Valor's turn. The Death Knight stares behind him as he sees this beast teleporting all around him. However, this Death Knight, being smaller than the Sphinx of Valor, is able to nimbly dodge through each one of its claws, moving through those paws as the Sphinx of Valor swings down. And after the Sphinx of Valor finishes his second roar, which the Death Knight is able to shimmer off very easily, he will pick up his blade again and try and stab the Sphinx right in his heart using his lunge. Let's see how that Dreadblade hits. A 23, the Dreadblade will hit. It's going to do full damage for the slashing, 11 damage, and then half on this 3d8. Oh, half of 21, that will be rounded to 10, as we just talked about. And then that full 11. This Sphinx of Valor is not looking good. He is at 41 out of the 199 hit points he started at, and the Death Knight has not taken a single hit yet. The Death Knight, after just being able to stab the Sphinx of Valor, making him bloodied all over, the Sphinx of Valor panting for help. He is not looking good. The Death Knight will start its turn with the recharge on Hellfire Orb, and it does recharge. I think that is the smartest thing we can do here. So he's going to Hellfire Orb. Let's just get that overlay again. Do it on the Sphinx of Valor so it does not hit the Death Knight himself. And we'll do it like that, which make it a bit different than last time. The Sphinx of Valor needs to make the DC 18 throw. He might die no matter what here by this fire damage. Oh, he could live. And I do not think he lives here. Even if he makes this saving throw, that will be 32 damage plus the 32 damage plus the 37, which will be halved, which is 18. Even if he takes this to make half damage, I don't know if we're gonna get there, but let's see it. And he makes the saving throw. That is beautiful. So let's see what he takes here. 32 halved is only 16 damage from the fire, and then we'll see that 37, which will be halved from his resistance, which will be halved again to down to 9 damage. The Sphinx barely able to survive this giant blast of flame. He will look down, panting at the Death Knight, just realizing this embodiment of pain, this embodiment of the undead in front of him. And the Sphinx take a deep breath as he'll let out his final roar on his turn. But before we get there, we have one more legendary action to use, and we will use the Arcane Prowl. We'll teleport again, just get some more movement in. Hit him with the claw attack. Let's please hit this. We are rolling terribly today, and we finally get a hit with the claw, dealing 19 damage. It is not a lot, but at least we are getting some damage onto this Death Knight. Now going to the Sphinx of Valor's turn. We will use his multi-attack to get the double claws and the third roar. So set that first claw. Misses. That second claw. Misses. Oh, these claws are not looking good for us today. That nimble Death Knight, being smaller than us, is just able to move between our strikes faster than we can hit them. However, we are getting the third roar right here. The Death Knight now needs to make a taunt saving throw of a DC 20. On a failure, taking a full 8d10 thunder damage and becoming prone. However, if he succeeds, it is half damage only. So let's see it. First, we'll get that damage in just so we know. Oh, 49 damage. That will be good if we are able to get these roars out. See, Death Knight making a con saving throw. We have a +5. So if we get a 15 or higher, we do automatically pass this. Oh, and we miss. We miss by 1. That means the Death Knight will be taking 49 points of damage here and becoming proned. Prone is very bad if no one knows what prone does. Basically, this Death Knight now has disadvantage on all of his attack rolls. His movement costs double as much. However, he can use some movement to get up out of prone, but that also uses an action. So I think he might just try and tank it, even with the disadvantage, and finish off the already very hurt Sphinx. Now, let's see what we can do here. Let's see, the Sphinx of Wonder has not moved yet. Sphinx of Wonder could move all the way back there with disadvantage on the Death Knight's roll. You know what? Let's just double check what prone does with the new rules. Let's see, we'll go prone right here. That's right, I got this stuff on speed dial basically. Restricted movement, yep, he can only crawl half of our speed to right himself by the end of the condition. If his speed is 0, he cannot right himself. Then he has disadvantage on attack rolls, and any attack rolls against the Death Knight does have advantage. So while the Death Knight has disadvantage, the Sphinx of Glory will use their movement to fly to the edge of the arena here. However, mid-flight, we will get to see an opportunity attack from the Death Knight using his Dread Blade. Make sure to roll that with disadvantage. A 16 with disadvantage does miss. The Sphinx Valor is able to escape the Death Knight. Let's see, going to the Death Knight's turn, he will get the Hellfire Orb recharge. A 5, that'll recharge perfectly. Now, let's see, the Death Knight, he will use all of his movement to stand upright. Normally it's half, but let's just say, even if he did have that movement, this Sphinx is now 60 feet away from this Death Knight. He's not moving there anytime soon. However, since this Sphinx is a grand 60 feet away, that means on our next turn of the Death Knight, we will see this last Hellfire Orb be used, taking out Sphinx of Wonder. We are ending the Death Knight's turn here, going to the Sphinx of Wonder's turn. Sphinx of Wonder will not use a legendary action. There's just no need to. We're too far away to hit him with a claw. Now let's see what we want to do here. We used all 3 of our roars already. So with our multi-attacks, it's just 2 claws. It's not a whole lot. Maybe we want to cast a spell. There's not much we can do here. Greater Restoration might be our best bet, but that also does not do a whole lot here as, well, there's nothing cursed in front of us. This Death Knight is walking on pure hatred to the world. He is an undead menace that this Sphinx I do not think will be able to handle. The Celestials might lose this fight, but let's see how it goes. The Celestials are not going out without a fight. The Sphinx of Valor is going to fly over to the Death Knight. The Death Knight will just be a normal roll here for the Sphinx of Valor because the Death Knight did get himself up from that prone condition. But let's see if we can hit. Alright, that's 1 hit. And that's a miss. However, on that 1 hit, the Death Knight, feeling extremely confident, is going to use his reaction to parry. In response to him being hit, he will add 6 AC against the attack, possibly causing it to miss, and it does miss, with his AC now being a 26. The Sphinx of Valor has no chance with that 21. Sphinx of Valor turns end, and now the Death Knight, using its last legendary action, will use his Dreadblade attack. Let's see what happens here, folks. An 18 hits, 12 slashing, plus the 8. That will be enough to kill the Sphinx of Valor. Even though the Death Knight became prone by the Sphinx of Valor's last roar, dealing massive, massive damage and causing the Death Knight to falter in that 1 turn, it does not matter. As with the Sphinx, very unlucky attacks early in this fight, with this Death Knight easily falling in between each strike, just moving and striking this Sphinx faster than he could hit back. The Death Knight has easily proven himself the victor of this fight, with the Sphinx of Valor losing. Now, did anyone see this one coming? Because I personally kind of did, kind of didn't. I tried to be fair about this. I tried to be, give each side their own thing. I had a Celestial versus an Undead. I thought it'd be a pretty cool fight. However, the Sphinx of Valor did not put up as strong as I thought they would. If we go over this fight to see what happened, we were just missing our attacks. Even though the Sphinx of Valor had a plus 12 to hit with their claw, against the AC of 20 from this Death Knight, we were missing damn near every attack. We only hit him maybe once or twice, and by the time we got that 3rd roar, it was over. So yeah, that will be just this small video for today. If this test well received, I would love to do more fights between monsters in the future. Maybe do more than just a 1-on-1. We can do 3-on-3s. We can do more cinematic ones with the Celestials versus the Undead. We can do ones that aren't the same CR. Maybe some against, some suggestions anyone has. Again, this is just something I do, like, in my free time, on my own time, or something I like doing to mess with D&D monsters. Say, if I want to use a Death Knight in my next campaign, I might do this and be like, see how the Death Knight plays, just at a load of what he can do. If anyone was wondering, by the way, with these legendary creatures, I try not to use legendary resistance, because I feel like that just kind of makes fights like this feel null and void. If two big beasts are going against each other and they're just legendary resistancing each other every single turn, then like nothing I feel like really gets done. However, this way we are able to see the Death Knight use his giant Hellfire Orb and that actually be effective versus against if I just used Legendary Resistance, it would have done basically nothing. This fight would have dragged on. The Death Knight still probably could have won. Same thing with the Sphinx's third roar ability. The Death Knight was able, or did fail it, but sad to see. Now, that'll be the end of the Death Knight versus Sphinx of Valor, and I will see you all in the future for the next video. And don't forget, One Piece video coming tomorrow. So let's look forward to that. That is Phoenix Plume, signing out.